And joining me now live via Skype from LA is Peter Mathews, Professor of Political Science at Cypress College. Peter, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
What is happening right now in Congress? As I understand it, the vote has passed the House, but not the Senate. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct as of now. And there's a problem here because the president wants to hold hostage the budget, the temporary spending gap bill, which will be part of the budget to settle the budget problem, in order to get a border wall to what he says block illegal immigrants. He wants $5 billion, over $5 billion, and the Democrats and others don't want to spend that kind of money and don't think it'll be a real solution. So he's willing to go to the mat in order to shut the government down in order to get his border wall. I think is pretty egregious, if you ask me.
So how likely do you think it is that this will end in a shutdown?
I think there's a good chance that it will because of such disagreement on the border wall issue. And the fact is that he's willing to play hardball in order to make a point with his base of voters. That's the problem again. He's always appealing to his base of about 35–40% of the voters, right-wing voters, Tea Party voters, in order to get them to elect him again in 2020. And he has to come up with these hardline, or he thinks he has to come up with these hardline policy issue areas. And it hurts the country. The country's going to be suffering as a result. There's a good chance that the government will be shut down, and about 25% of the government will be actually out of commission. About 25% of it, services will be cut for now, stopped for now.
So what does it mean when the government goes into shutdown over there, and what will it mean for the country over the holiday period in particular?
It can't be anything good because any shutdown at all will cut certain services, and I'm not sure exactly what services that would be, but it probably won't be Social Security checks, but other things might be cut back. Some government offices will be closed. People will be furloughed. The government workers will be on furlough. They may get paid later on for their work, which they didn't do because they'll have to go home, basically, or stay home. It's a very demoralizing situation for the world superpower, or at least the country that was called a superpower, to not have its government function like this over a political disagreement, a partisan disagreement, but mostly it's President Trump's doing, in my view, and he needs to fix that because it doesn't help the American situation at all, or the economy. The economy, the stock market will all be affected by this.
We know that building the wall was one of Donald Trump's big election campaign promises back in 2016 and prior to that. What does all of this mean for that promise? Do you think shutting down the government would help him in trying to get that wall built?
No, because there's first of all, in another week and a half, you're going to have a complete majority of Democrats. 40 new seats were won by Democrats. They switched from Republican to Democrat in the House. So the vast majority now is going to be a Democratic House in the representatives. And that is going to be able to block anything that the president might want to do regarding the wall or any of his other policies, because both houses, the Senate and the House, have to pass bills for this president to sign them into law. He cannot pass it with just one house. And he's got real opposition now from the opposition party, which won a tremendous groundswell of victory back in November. That's a problem for him.
Well, this isn't the only dramas that are happening over there. We saw the resignation of Defence Secretary Jim Mattis yesterday. What's the reaction to that been, and any names thrown up yet to replace him?
It's been shock and complete disorientation for many people. Even some of his Republican senators who had supported him before are completely against him for this. They're shocked at this, and they think he should not have allowed this to happen. But the thing is, General Mattis had different views on certain issues, such as, for example, he wanted to create a space force and he wanted to ban transgendered people from the military. And he didn't want, Mattis didn't want these things to happen. He wanted us to have a focus on military issues and not create divisiveness. And Mattis finally, when President Trump announced the withdrawal of American troops from Syria, that was the straw that broke the camel's back, and Mattis says he's getting out because he said he and the president don't agree on a lot of the fundamental values, especially on foreign policy and defense policy. So those kinds of things were big bones of contention between the two men. And finally, Mattis got out after 2 years. It's quite amazing he even lasted this long, to tell you the truth.
Just about the pulling out of troops out of Syria, and now we're hearing potentially Afghanistan as well. There's going to be a drawback of troops there possibly too. What has been the wider reaction to that decision from Donald Trump?
Especially worldwide, it's been really, like I said, shock and disbelief. And many of our allies are concerned about an imbalance of power in that area. But what he should have done, if he really wants to de-escalate those wars and bring back the troops eventually, he should do it in a much more measured, balanced way, along with our allies, negotiating with our opponents and also the Russians, for example, and then work with the allies to bring step-by-step reduction of those troops while the political negotiations were occurring, and they could come up with a good solution for the problems in Syria and also now in Afghanistan, which just by withdrawing troops, half the troops, 14,000 troops there, he wants to withdraw the 7,000 of them really quickly, really within 3 months. And that's a drastic way of doing it. It's kind of destabilizing in a sense, in my view. I do believe that we cannot stay in Afghanistan forever. We've been there 18 years almost now, and the Taliban is still resurgent. We have to look at economic development and diplomatic work with all of the world together to solve these problems, and not just think America can do it on its own, as the president's been pushing the America First policy, which is not a good one for the entire world, for peace in the world.
Well, Peter Mathews, it's certainly never boring where you are. We thank you very much for your time and analysis this morning.
Thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.
This is Saturday Edition. More of today's